in Pittsburgh to play the Steelers in the last year of Three River Stadium. Cordell Stewart benched. It's Kent Graham for Bill Cowher to start, going up against the Baltimore defense, the key to finish, that went 6-3 in the last 9 games last year, and an undefeated preseason as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at Rob Burnett on a twist right there, goes inside, and this is the kind of pressure that Kent Graham was under all during this game. Now, that was an inside move by Rob Burnett. Then Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside. Here he does a great job of reading the reverse, holds his ground, stays as deep as the football. Another big loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Davis and Blanchard. I don't believe it. 3-0 first quarter. Tony Banks. Plenty of time. Kadri Ishmael. Plenty of room. 53 yards to the missile. 10-0 Baltimore. Second quarter, a guy named Priest should be pretty good on Sundays. And Priest Holmes runs for 11 yards, helped setting up a field goal. 217 to 39 the yardage in the first half. Pittsburgh, like midway through the second quarter, had no yards rushing. With the score 16-0, Kent Graham to Mark Bruner. It's a nice catch, 23 yards. So on the goal line, they bring Cordell in, hands it Jerome Bettis. The bus looking like a Yugo, gets nothing. Stewart, second down, third down for Clay to fumble. So on fourth down, let's bring Kent Graham back in on fourth down. And their number 1 pick is a good-looking receiver named Plexico Burris, but he's tall. He's not that tall. 7 shots inside the 3. The chin out for Bill Cowher. Graham angry. Steelers hadn't lost an opener at home in the 90s. They lose this one 16-0. Here's one thing to know for the Steelers. They have a bye week, so they got 2 weeks to talk about the we got no points and who you're going to start a quarterback. That almost works against them because the best thing for them to do is to play a little more football. The Steelers end up with 30 yards rushing. But meanwhile, I want to start with Baltimore, Tom, because the Baltimore Ravens, we saw it at the end of last year. Are they a playoff team? I'll tell you what, they bring a very serious defense, and they don't need to score very many points, do they? A shutout on the road in the division.
Well, Chris, they're going to get tremendous pressure on the quarterback with that front 7. They have maybe the best middle linebacker in football in Ray Lewis. I think the only question for this football team was how would the quarterback play, Tony Banks? Would we see the guy that we saw at the tail third of the season that we saw last year, or the guy that we saw the previous couple of years before that? If Tony Banks plays, he's now got plenty of weapons. Brian Billick has given him a great system to work with, and their confidence is only going to get bigger and bigger as the season goes on. You win games like this, your confidence begins to grow. This could be a team to reckon with before we get to the midway point of the season.
Very interesting Week 2 game. Jacksonville at Baltimore.
Yes.
I know it's early, but that's a big game, and we'll learn a lot about both. Central has consisted of Jacksonville and then last year Tennessee, who looped past them on the way to the Super Bowl. On the outside looking in was Baltimore. This is a game at home against Jacksonville, an undefeated preseason, a win in Week 1. They've been looking at this game for a long time since the schedules came out. Would it be a step-out game for the Ravens in the big crab cake with Jacksonville in town? Tom Coughlin, his Jaguars 8-0 lifetime against Baltimore. Brian Billick sees his team fall behind 3-0, and then he sees Jacksonville really come to play hard. Chiron Stitt lays out Kadri Ishmael. Ishmael leaves with a strain. MCL, he would not return. So the missile gone. Brunell throws some missiles of his own. What a game for Jimmy Smith. Just getting warmed up, 45-yard touchdown, 10-0 Jaguars. Later in the first, Brunell. And here, play fake to Smith again. That's beautiful. 43 yards, 17-0 Jags.
Boom, Jimmy Smith may be the best receiver in this league. You watch the concentration, the speed with which he runs by the DB, and the great cradle on the football to get it in.
10 catches for 194 in the first half alone. In the second half, down 23-7. Brian Billick needs some offense from Tony Banks. To Travis Taylor, that's pretty. 40 yards. 3 plays later. Banks, Taylor, touchdown. 2-point conversion makes it 23-15. Jermaine Lewis taking a break with an IV. Brunell hands off to Stacy. Mack fumbles. It's recovered by Baltimore. And there's the turnover they need. The Ravens have the ball at the 13. And Banks to Jermaine Lewis from IB to TD in the right-hand corner of the end zone. And the Ravens have the 29-26 lead. Now, under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Brunell looking for Keenan McCardell. He's got it. 17 yards. Then Brunell. And in Baltimore, shades of a John Mackey play. Tip from McCardell to Jimmy Smith. It's a touchdown, 36-32 Jags.
A tip drill that's practiced by every NFL team every week. Ball intended for McCardell. Again, a great job of concentration by Jimmy Smith. Staying with the play, and he's so strong. It's a great combination of speed and strength along with that great concentration he has.
So the huge comeback from Baltimore might be wasted as the Jags have the lead 36-32. But whoop, the move by Billy Davis. And after a timeout after that 15-yard completion. Banks to Ion Medeo. Up Medeo for 11 yards. And then spike the ball. 2nd and 10 at the 30. Banks. Nice, just smooth on this. To Shannon Sharp. It's a touchdown. Banks to Sharp. And the Ravens have the biggest win in franchise history. They've beaten the Jaguars 39-36. Unbelievable comeback for Brian Billick and for Tony Banks. They have not lost preseason, regular season, I would say, hot.
I've never been in a game like this. I've won games towards the end, but never in this fashion by stinking it up in the first half and throwing 5 touchdown passes. I mean, you can't ask for anything more. I feel like Kurt Warner.
Well, I mean, the numbers, you know what? And he is poised in the pocket. I mean, not only, he completed a lot of passes for a lot of yards with a big comeback. Didn't look around at ball, looked like he knew what exactly he was doing.
Well, and I think that's a credit to Brian Billick. Yes. You see a guy like Tony Banks, 5 touchdown passes, 4 different receivers. And what I want people to do is just remember back for a second, a couple of years ago, when he was with the St. Louis Rams. You know, he always looked like he was flustered. He never threw the ball where you wanted him to throw it. Brian Billick has settled him down and given him weapons to work with. 2-0, we know what that means. Most times, 2-0, they're headed to good things.
Well, they've been undefeated 3 straight preseasons that franchise has been, but this time they're looking to pay it off. So despite 291 yards receiving by Jimmy Smith, the 5th best receiving game in the history of the NFL, it was Tony Banks who gets the headlines. 23 of 40 for 262, but that's not the story. 5 touchdown passes on this game, and since, well, mid to late November last year, right through this season, Banks and the Ravens 7-2.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you.
Is this little matter of the Baltimore Ravens kind of trying to score a little bit? Well, the last time they scored a touchdown was against the Bengals. And here came the Bengals again. 5 games without a touchdown, but the Bengals are the team that's hot. They've won 2 in a row. The Ravens have lost 3 in a row, but Sam Adams, the keg, hits Achilles Smith during the handoff. Michael McCreary recovers at the 17-yard line. So the Ravens defense puts them in business. Trent Dilfer now starting for Tony Banks. Pay attention. Brandon Stokely. Oh, my goodness. It's a touchdown for Baltimore. 322 minutes and 32 seconds between touchdowns. But let bygones be bygones. It's 10-0 in Dilfer to Shannon Sharp. It's 17-0 Tom. Meanwhile, Ravens D.
Yeah, Corey Dillon, a very difficult time getting started. He's had a great 5 weeks of football. You see him here getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage by Keith Washington and actually losing yardage. And then on the next play, 3rd and 14, Achilles Smith, his pocket presence, we have to remember he's very young, starts out of the pocket, gets sacked right there by Peter Bullware. Bengals recovered it. They're going to be forced to punt the football.
Got only 174 yards today. Now Trent Dilfer saying, hey, we got 2 touchdowns. We can do some more. Here's one of those first-round picks in the offense, Jamal Lewis. Swing pass, 43 yards, all the way down to the 23-yard line. 2 plays later, Dilfer, chased by number 90, Michael Bankston. Look at Trent, shake him off. Looking for Editu, Shannon Sharp, touchdown. Tommy, wait a minute, 3 touchdowns for the Ravens? Wait a minute, what's under review? Wait a minute, 1, 2, yeah, there were 3. The Ravens off the schneid as they win 27-7, and perhaps at 6-4, they can still be a factor moving on back because they have a little bit of confidence now, although it was since.
Well, you hope Brian Billick found the game plan he's looking for, the 20-plus carries for Lewis, the 100-plus yards, and we have not seen Trent Dilfer be this sharp in a long, long time.
As we go inside the numbers, Baltimore Ravens, well, maybe they can petition the league to schedule Cincinnati 8 times. And no knock on the job Dick LeBeau has done. This is just a fact because Cincinnati is playing much better ball. But against the Bengals this year are where the Ravens have found their mark. 2 games against Cincy, obviously both wins, they've scored 7 touchdowns. The other 8 games against everybody else, they've scored a mere 6 touchdowns.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you.
10, the Chargers at the Ravens. Since they moved to Baltimore, they have never been in the playoffs. Who knows? Do they have a Raven? It's a different looking Raven, but that was on the wire looking down. At Baltimore off a bye. Ryan Leaf against the Baltimore defense. What could happen? Stripped by Cornell Brown. Baltimore recovers. Ensuing drive, 3rd and 2. Trent Dilfer looking for the missile. Kadre Ismail. Ishmael out of bounds, but the Ravens go for a view, and you take a look, Tom.
Well, first of all, great pump by Trent Dilfer to hold the safety and then deliver the ball outside to the missile. You see the right foot in, the great drag of the left foot. They ruled that to be a catch eventually.
Kind of a drag by the Buckinghams. The Ravens lead it 10-0. Here come the Raven defense. Kim Herring will drill Terrell Fletcher. Ball loose. Ron Burnett. Hey, look at the big guys doing 2 feet in bounds. I didn't know they could do this.
Great step on the sideline there to make sure that he had possession.
So Ron Burnett with the big play after Herring makes the hit. So when the Ravens only have to drive 3 yards, they can do this. And it's Lewis that goes in. Jamal Lewis. He runs left, but he's short. But then we do this. That's kind of dangerous, isn't it? But it's a touchdown.
Yeah, Jamal Lewis has done a great job of really being the engine for this offense over the course of the last half of the season now.
91 yards for him, 17-3 off a Ravens punt. Now watch Duron Jenkins. He was a former Raven. He's now a Charger. He gets pushed into his return man, Nate. You can't. When you're 1-12, should it be 1-13? This is what happens. It's a fumble. Your own guy kind of forces. You know, when things are going well for you, you can laugh about it. As Trent Dilfer to Brandon Stokely, who's fired up, a 22-yard touchdown. They introduced Art Modell before the game instead of the team to 40 years in football, and afterwards the shower for Brian Billick. The Ravens, they can now use the P word. They're going to the playoffs as they've won 24-3. They've won 5 straight games, and they held the Chargers to 9 first downs. And oh, by the way, just 3 points. They're going to be a force if they can get some offense.
Well, and Jamal Lewis, the 29 carries for 91 yards, but 40 overall attempts. And give Brian Billick a lot of credit for making the change from the passing guy that he was as a coach with the Minnesota Vikings to being able to run the football the way he does now with the Ravens.
And giving Trent Dilfer some confidence. San Diego turned it over 5 times. Let me tell you, their proud defense held the playoff team at home to under 300 yards. But, you know, it's just not enough. And now the Baltimore Ravens are on the edge of history. 2 years ago, Billick, offensive coordinator, Minnesota, set a new record for points scored. The Baltimore Ravens, 138 points allowed with just 2 games to go. They are well on pace to allow the fewest points since we've gone to a 16-game season. Record currently held by the year after Super Bowl shuffle, Chicago Bears with 187.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa.
All the views of you on the football field.
Now we move on. Warren's here a little bit later, but Brian Billick and the Baltimore Ravens, they're in the playoffs, but they want to set a fewest points allowed record and maybe a shutout record. But wait a minute. Jake Plummer's going to hit Frank Sanders. You're not supposed to do this to the Baltimore Ravens. They email a touchdown. It's 7-3 Cards. Plummer, boy. This is the Ravens defense. Jamie Sharper brings it all the way down to the Arizona 5. They'd earlier made a defensive turnover inside the 5, but Trent Dilfer was picked in the end zone. This time, it sets up a Jamal Lewis 1-yard run. 3 minutes to go. Plummer hit by Peter Bouye. It's a fumble. Ravens recovered. The play would be reviewed. Let's take a look. Arm moving forward. He ruled an incomplete pass.
That's very close.
So Brian Phillips says, wait a minute, we want the ball. But guess what? Arizona has a chance to win the game. But Ray Lewis bats it away. And the Ravens hold on for a tougher than expected 13-7 win at Arizona. Baltimore has allowed 145 points. The record, 187 by the 1986 Chicago Bears. So unless the Jets have a scoring fest, the Ravens will be in the record book.
Defense, run the football. Jamal Lewis, 29 carries, 126 yards. That's what you have to deal with if you're the Jets next week trying to get into the playoffs.
Baltimore could still catch Tennessee going into the last week. AFC picture for the third straight week. The Jets win, they're in, but they're at Baltimore. Oh, and you knew this was going to be funny with two old Bucs quarterbacks, the two guys that have started the most games for Tampa's quarterback, Trent Dilfer and Vinny Testaverde. But early on, the Jets were on it. Flea flicker. Vinny, who, by the way, scored the first Ravens touchdown ever, throws the pass to Dedrick Ward, 7-0 J.
You're talking about the best run defense in football. So you see that secondary come up and run support, bite on the flea flicker. Vinny Testaverde, easy job of throwing the ball over the top to Dedrick Ward for a score.
The Jets under Al Groh last week looked like a team afraid to lose. They did not come out that way today, Tom. Testaverde, play action, lobs it beautifully to Richie Anderson, and he drags Corey Harris into the end zone, 35 yards. Anderson caught 11 for 139, 14-0 the Jets. Second quarter, Testaverde fumbles. Ravens ball. Trent Dilfer. How did Priest Holmes make that catch? Well, it is a Sunday. Priest do well. Christmas Eve, of course. Dilfer to Condre Ishmael. Touchdown, 7 yards, feet in, 14-7. Jets lead down to 7. Then, later in the second, Testaverde is picked off by Dwayne Starks. Starks high-stepping and returns it deep into Jets territory all the way to the 31-yard line, sets up a Stover field goal, 14-10. Later second, where for some reason Vinny's interceptions are like 4 times more in this quarter than ever before than any other quarter, Windrell Hayes makes the pick. Fakes out Windrell Hayes, and my bad, he was picked off by Starks, picks up an extra 30 yards. Look at the lateral on the play. Meanwhile, Dilfer, incomplete to Leon Johnson on 3rd and 1. Brian Phillips says, let's go. 4th and 1. Dilfer incomplete. Boy, he has trouble throwing the ball in tight. Incomplete to Shannon Sharp with that Baltimore defense. It's a safety. It's a safety. Curtis Martin never even smelled the goal line, 14-12. Later in the second, Jets driving. They still lead it. And Wayne Corbett, who played a big game, made some circus catches, 39-yard gain with 24 seconds left in the half. Look at how long Vinny looks at the corner. Looking. Picked off by Chris McAllister. Curtis Martin's the only guy that has a shot. No, sir. He could go all the way. 98 yards when the Jets were going to go in. The Ravens go in. 20-14.
Less than 20 seconds left in the half. You see Corbett running his route, but look at McAllister. Just follow the eyes of Vinny Testaverde right to the football. That's a fairly easy pick for a corner. Great play to make before the half.
Third quarter, Dilfer sprained wrist. Tony Banks in, up, down, separate shoulder. Banks out, Dilfer in. But really, you know who was not in? The Jets cover teams on the punts. Jermaine Lewis, 54 yards, 27-17, Ravens. Lewis, in the fourth quarter, returns another punt, gets a couple of blocks, makes a cut at the 40. He could go all the way. 2 punt returns, an interception return, and a safety for Art Modell and the Baltimore Ravens. They allowed 20 points, but they still smash the record for fewest points allowed in a 16-game season. For the New York Jets, a loss at 34-20. Martin, they couldn't run Vinny through 69 passes. Let's first go inside the numbers and show you that the Ravens have broken the mark of the 86 Chicago Bears by 22 points. Fewest points allowed in a 16-game season. We salute their defense, Tom.
It's an outstanding defense, and I think they play it the way you have to play it. It is great run defense up front that gets them in very manageable second and third down situations. It'll be that kind of defense will play great in the playoffs.
So, with the Jets losing, that opened the door in a late. The Oakland Raiders, first AFC Championship game in Oakland since 1976. They've been blowing teams out at home. But this is Ray Lewis and the Ravens defense that set a record. John Gruden trying to come up with that game plan to just chip away at that Ravens defense. Scoreless first quarter, late. Rich Gannon, picked up by Robert Beetle Bailey, hit the first big break of the game. And that leads to Pro Bowl kicker Matt Smokey Stover. So this is automatic. Except, done. Raiders dodge a bullet. 36-yard field goal, no good. And look at the crowd. Alcatraz open again. Second quarter, Trent Dilfer, sacked by William Thomas. So this is going to be the first time in the game, Tom, early second quarter, that Oakland's going to get field position after this punt, because certainly, oh no, Marquez Paul plays the Matador defense. It's Dilfer, the Shannon Sharp. He could go all the way, 96 yards. It turned a Raider advantage into a Raider disaster.
Yeah, and you take a look at the big picture here. Marquez Pope going to miss the initial tackle. Anthony Dorsett, who was arrowed, going to come over, take the wrong approach angle, and Shannon Sharp is off to the races.
Ensuing drive, Raiders. Tony Siragusa charges in and knocks Rich Gannon down, twisting, turning, collarbone injury. We'll probably find out it may have been broken.
Yeah, Tony Siragusa, about 340 pounds, and you see him bring all his weight down on Rich Gannon, and certainly that was trouble for the rest of the game for the Raiders.
Bobby Hoying hasn't played a meaningful snap since September. Tyrone Wheatley gets the ball stuffed by Ray Lewis. Hoying, oh my goodness, he's going to throw it from his own 8. It's picked off by Dwayne Starks, who struts down to the 21-yard line. Gannon. Now look at this. He's on his way to the locker room, and he looks up. But Gannon comes out, whatever they did. Second half, could he be like Brian Greasy was against these Raiders on that Monday night? Meanwhile, here comes the defense. Johnny Harris picks off Trent Dilfer. Raiders get some life, down 10-0. Leads to first and goal. But Tyrone Wheatley ran it 12 times for 7 yards, Tom.
Yeah, this defense stuffs you at the line of scrimmage, and you realize when you get down in short yardage situations where things get very tight, it gets very difficult.
And then this is Gannon being dragged out by Jamie Sharper. So third and goal began at the 2. Now they're at the 7. And a little behind, but Randy he had a touchdown, baby. But the Raiders have to settle for a field goal, and who would have known that was about it? 10-3 with a score 13-3 after a Stover field goal. Jamal Lewis hits a fumble. The Raiders have a Pope, and the Ravens have a priest. This one, it was Marquez Pope that recovered. So it leads to Gannon. It really does. We're going to freeze this play for a moment, maybe a few moments, and he's going to go back to pass, and he's going to be, see, it's amazing the protection he got on that play. He's going to be picked off by Dwayne Starks, his second pick of the day. You could tell Gannon was not right. That was obvious. Return to the 49-yard line. And then if you really didn't know he wasn't right, early fourth. Hit, fumble. Ray Lewis is there, and the Ravens are in business again.
Yeah, Ray Lewis is always around the football. Unfortunate set of events here. Lincoln Kennedy's foot kicks the ball out of Gannon's hand, and again, Ray Lewis always around the football.
Later in the fourth, with the Ravens owning this game 16-3. One of the few big gainers is Hoying to Terry Kirby. But it's a fumble! And guess who? It's Dwayne Starks edging ahead in that .com poll again. And he recovers. But the Raiders are going to challenge. And the play is overruled. So they keep the ball. Hoying to Bad Moon Rising, but Bad Move Rising. Penalty nullifying the touchdown.
Yeah, and you're out in space, and you've got the side judge looking for this, and right there you see the push-off. It's an obvious call for the official.
And then,
pretty easy call.
And then look at the Ravens defense. Are they unbelievable?
J.B. Sharper is right there at the one to end the threat, to end the game. The Ravens D, along with a little bit from Trent Dilfer, and some outstanding coaching for Brian Billick, Art Modell, been an owner since 1960. The Ravens are moving to the championship game in unbelievable style, holding the Raiders to just 3 points. This is a team that blew teams out at home all year long. Shannon Sharp, what, 1 for 96? It was pretty big. He's with Susie Colbert.
As good as this Ravens defense is, sometimes all it takes is one big play from the offense. Today, that big play belonged to Shannon Sharp. But Shannon, first, very few people gave you guys a chance to come in here and beat the Raiders at home. How satisfying?
It's very satisfying. We believed all week. No one gave us a chance. We listened to everybody talk. The Ravens can't score enough points. The Raiders offense is so good, we're for real.
You're backed up at the 4-yard line, no score in the second. Give us your view of the 96-yard touchdown.
Well, we had quick slants on. They went cover 0, and I know once I got inside, I had him. And I said, well, if Trent put the ball in front of me, I don't have to break stride. I got a chance. I really wasn't expecting to go to the house. I was just basically trying to get a first down. But when it opened up, there was no one there, so it was off to the races. I'm not as fast as I used to be, but I'm not too bad for an old guy.
The longest touchdown in postseason history. Congratulations. You guys are the AFC champs.
Thanks, Susie. Hey, bruh, you went out on a limb with us. All the jokers out there drinking Haterade, we bought our hater spray today. Later.
Back to the studio.
Oh, we're going to have to live with Sterling. Hey, look, the Ravens go into Tennessee and win.
Yes.
The Ravens go into Oakland and hold them to 3 points and win. So Shannon, what, 1 for 96 today, 1 for 56 last week, but it was a huge play to get him back. 3 for 73 against Denver. These numbers don't add up. Oh, until you look at the defense. Have we seen a better defensive unit?
It's a defense through the playoffs that's given up 16 total points, and I don't think we have seen a better defense. And if you believe in statistics, the best run defense in the history of the game. They make you one-dimensional. You had the Raiders who averaged almost 160 yards rushing the football per game, 24 yards today. Nice. Ray Lewis, the dominant player in the league defensively. And I hope people understand, this is Dick Butkus, this is Joe Green in his prime. You know, mentally, physically, everything right now is tuned, and he is very, very motivated to play well.
Let's put a little something in perspective. The last loss for Baltimore before Halloween, okay, that's October 29th. To Pittsburgh. They've won 10 straight games.
Yes.
They're the third AFC team in the last 4 years to use this 4 seed, the top wild card, to get into the Super Bowl. Denver, of course, won it all in '97. And I'm going to make the one prediction I'm going to get right all day, okay? I think the Ravens might be watching this when they fly their plane home.
Good.
Which is flying on its own, by the way. See you in Tampa. Well earned. By the way, you had the 16 points Tommy talked about in the playoffs. To the 165 they gave up in the regular. Still in 19 games, they would still own the record for a 16-game season. Whoa. Game balls. When we were...
Number 95, Sam Adams. At left end, from Syracuse, number 90, Rob Burnett. At right end, from Wake Forest, number 99, Michael McCrary. At left cornerback, from Miami, number 22, Dwayne Starks. At right cornerback, from Arizona, number 21, Chris McAllister. At strong safety, from Penn State, number 20, Kim Herring. At free safety, from Purdue, number 26, Rod Woodson. right linebacker from Virginia, number 55, Jamie Sharper.
Let's go.
At left linebacker from Florida State, number 58, Peter Boulware. At middle linebacker from Miami, number 52, Ray Lewis. And the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, Brian Billick. And now, the National Football Conference champion New York Giants. Let's meet the Giants' defensive starters. At free safety from UCLA, number 36, Sean Williams. At strong safety from Cincinnati, number 20, Sam Garnes. At right cornerback from Southern Cal, number 31, Jason Sehorn.